Good morning or afternoon. This is 5th grade lesson 562, page 199. We're going to be practicing fraction division today. Today is kind of a review page. You may recognize these types of problems from page 191, 514. So if you want to refer back, you'll notice that we actually already worked on the two strategies that we're going to use today. This is just a continuation of what we've already touched on page 191. So it's always important to know that you can use that as a reference page. So today we're going to talk about splitting up things that are already split. So I'm going to summarize the instructions. Basically, you're going to need to write a number model to figure out your problem, and then we're going to solve it. First, let's dig right into Selena. I'm going to show you a touch of both of these. So for number one, Selena has 6 inches of tape to attach photos to her display board. If she cuts the tape into half-inch pieces, how many pieces will she have? Okay. So this is where you need to choose a strategy, how you would like to solve this problem. So I know on page 191 we experimented with literally breaking things down into pieces that we then split in half. We also used a number line. I think for number one here, I'm going to use a number line because when I think of inches, I'm thinking of a ruler or a tape measure. So I'm going to make an imperfect number line. It doesn't have to be, you don't need a straight edge for this one. Usually the straight edges are a little more important when we're talking plotting data or angles. Here it can be just kind of, as best as you can do. So 1 inch, 2, 3, should be about halfway, 4, 5, 6. Okay, you can even label that. Here's our 6 inches of tape. And what she wants to do here is cut that tape into half-inch pieces. So literally, we're going to take 6 and we're dividing or splitting, however you want to call it. The mathematical term will be dividing. We're going to be dividing those 6 inches by half of an inch. And let's see, what are we dealing with? Pieces? Okay. So for my unknown, I'm going to use the letter P. Of course, you can choose what kind of variable you wish to use. So in this case, I'm going to use a different color just to differentiate. You don't have to. Between 0 and 1, here's our first inch. We need to split it in half. Split. Between 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 3 and 4, 4 and 5, and 5 and 6. We're not going to go beyond 6 because that's more than 6. So what we've basically done is created a bunch of halves. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And some of you may have been able to do this math here and say, well, yeah, if you take 6 and you divide it by a half, you're just going to end up doubling the 6's. So in this case, Selena is going to have how many half-inch pieces now that she has split up these 6? Go ahead and take a look. And we just counted. We actually have 12 half-inch pieces. And your check in this case, you're going to take this 12. 2 ways you can go about it. The way I like to do it, am I still on the, oh no, I'm off the page, I'm sorry. So there's our answer. And to check, we're going to take our answer, just like we did on page 191. And for me, I like to turn him into a fraction. Any whole number over 1 is equal to that whole number. 12 over 1 is equal to 12. But it helps me multiply more easily. So we're going to take our answer and multiply it by our divisor. 12 times 1 is 12. 1 times 2 is 2. We get 12 halves. And I know that we can split both of these in half to reduce, and that's going to reduce to 6 over 1, which we know 6 over 1 is the same as 6, which matches our dividend. That's how we know it's correct. Okay, I'm going to try to introduce you to number 2. I don't know if I want to solve it because I want to see what you can do, but I'm at least going to introduce it. Heather has 1/4 of a watermelon. If she shares the watermelon equally with her brother and sister, how much watermelon will each person get? So basically what I would do here, this might not be the most realistic thing of all time. I'm going to put my pen down, go back to the pencil. But personally, I would draw, watermelons, especially pieces, come in all sorts of shapes. But for the sake of this problem, we're going to make a nice, even shape, like a rectangular piece of watermelon. And we know Heather has 1/4 of a watermelon. So what do you think we need to do with this watermelon here? It has something to do with this guy. Yeah, we need to split this watermelon into 4 pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and I think we'll go, I'm trying to decide whether I want to go horizontal or vertical. I think I'll go vertical. It might look a little cleaner. So we split it into 2. Now we split into 3. And now we split into 4. So we know Heather right away has 1/4. I'm going to go ahead and shade that in. And the question I'm going to pose to you is, now we know she wants to share this watermelon equally with her brother and sister. So how many people will be sharing this watermelon all together? Well, I'm going to go ahead and underline who's going to get a share of this watermelon, and I see 1, 2, and 3 people. So the question's going to be, how many ways do we need to split up this 1/4 of a watermelon? How many people are going to get a piece of it? Okay, and now I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to stop the video now and see what you guys can come up with on your own. I already gave you number 1 here, basically. So I want to see if you can come up. What do we do from here? We already have the 1/4, and your question is, how do we split this up next to find out how much of a 1/4 we're going to split between Heather, her brother, and her sister. All right, guys, if that's not enough, if you're still confused, message me, comment. I'll take you a little bit further, but I want to see what you guys can do. Okay, so long.